In this video, our essential question is, how do I graph a standard form quadratic? And right below that, after you write your essential question, go ahead and write the actual standard form for quadratic. Y equals a times x squared plus b times x plus c. Remember, class, the x is our inputs, the y on the left side is our output, and the a, b, and c, those are determined based on the question. You'll be able to identify a, b, and c in the question. So how do I graph a standard form quadratic? You need to be doing it with these steps. Step number one, first of all, identify a, b, and c. And I would recommend, class, that you write those values down. Don't skip that step. If you do, you're going to find that many times you're going to make a mistake by writing the wrong sign down or just writing down the wrong value. Okay, number two, find the x value of the vertex using the expression negative b over 2a. We have learned that already. Step number three, find the y value of the vertex by plugging in the x value and solving for y. Remember, if I give you an x value, you could always just plug it into the function or the equation and solve for y. So that's how we find the y value of the vertex. Step number four, put the vertex in row 3 of the table. Let me explain that real quick. You're going to see that when you're graphing a standard form quadratic, you're going to make an xy table with 5 spots in it, 5 rows. The vertex is going to go right in the middle of that table. Then you're going to fill in, step number 5, you're going to fill in the x column with 2 values below the vertex and 2 values above. You'll see how I do that in a moment. Step number 6, calculate the y values of the table. Basically find the y values of the other 4 rows, another 4 rows in your table. And then number 7, plot the 5 points and connect them to form a parabola. Now here's an important error check to make sure you've done your work correctly. If the shape doesn't look like a parabola, trust me, you've made a mistake. Find your mistakes. And the last thing is, remember, if the a value you found is positive, your parabola better be opening up. And if the a value is negative, your parabola better be opening down. If you get a positive value for a and your parabola is upside down, you've made a mistake. And the same thing if a is negative. If a is negative, your parabola should definitely be opening down. All right, now let's make this a little more understandable by actually working through a problem. So let's move over to the right side. See if I can get that on here for you. Okay, so here's an example. F of x is equal to, actually, you know what? We are in the wrong part. Let's go up to the top. There we go. Somehow I scrolled down. Okay, so here we go. F of x is equal to negative 1/2 times x squared. So step number 1, it says identify a, b, and c. Now take a look, class. We do have an a value. Let's write that down. A is equal to negative 1/2. What's our b value equal to? Well, take a look. There is no term in our quadratic that just has an x, or an x to the first power. That means b has to be 0. And the same with c. There's no plus or minus some constant number, so that means in this case c must be equal to 0. All right, so we've identified a, b, and c. What is the x value of the vertex? We're going to find that with negative b over 2 times a. Well, our b value is 0. That means the top of this fraction is going to be negative 0. I can just write 0. Negative 0 and 0 are the same thing. You know that. And then we've got 2 times, I'll put in parentheses, our a value, which is negative 1/2. I should write that a little bit neater. 2 times negative 1/2. All right, well, you should know already, class, mathematically, that 0 over anything is just 0. 0 divided by any number is equal to 0. We can keep on going here. We can just say this is 0 over 2 times negative 1/2. Well, 2 times 1/2, that's just a reciprocal. 2 times 1/2 is 1, and a positive times a negative is a negative. Again, 0 over negative 1 is just 0. So our x value of our vertex is going to be 0. I'm going to put a box around that, or I'll put something around that so we see it. There's our x value. Let's make a note here. There's our x value of our vertex. All right, remember to find the y value? All you do is you plug in the x value. So f of 0, there's our x value of 0. F of 0 equals negative 1/2 times 0 squared. Well, 0 squared is 0, and anything times 0 is just 0. So in this case, we end up with a vertex of 0, 0. So we're going to take those two values and put them in our table. That's step number 4. We plugged in our y value. We find the y value by plugging in the x value. Number 4, put the vertex in row 3. Step number 5, fill in the x column with two values below the vertex and 2 values above. So I like to do it this way. I go 2 values below on top. So 0 minus 1 is negative 1, minus 1 again is negative 2. 0 plus 1 is 1, 1 plus 1 is 2. You could also do 2, 1, 0, negative 1, negative 2. It makes no difference. Works either way. Next step is calculate the y values of the table. So what you'd be doing in this case is you got to find f of negative 2, and f of negative 1, and f of 1, and f of 2. Let's quickly do one of those. Let's go ahead and get this to where I have my calculator. Let's find out. Oh goodness. Do I have my calculator here? Let's go back and see if I can find it. There we go. All right, so we got our calculator. Let's go ahead and find negative 1. So I'm going to go, f of negative 1 is going to be negative 1/2, so negative 1. Now, when I put a fraction in the calculator, I like to put it in parentheses to make sure the calculator knows that those two numbers go together. So when I put in 1 divided by 2, it knows that's 1/2. So negative of 1/2, and now we're going to plug in the x value of negative 1, not minus 1, it's a negative 1. Then I'm going to square it. Let's go ahead. Notice I followed my rules of using parentheses when I plug in a variable, and that value is negative 0.5. Negative 0.5. Let's go ahead and plug in negative 2. So I'll clear that. Negative, I'll put my fraction in parentheses again, 1/2, and then I'll put in negative 2, close parentheses, press equal, and I've got positive 1. Why do I have positive 1? I think I put that in wrong. Let's try that again. One more time. Maybe I did it right. So negative 1 divided by 2. Okay, and then we're going to multiply that. Oh, I forgot to square. That's why. Parentheses, negative 2, parentheses, square it, press equal. There we go. Negative 2 is our answer. You're going to find, class, go ahead and try to find the values for f of 1 and f of 2. You're going to find, if you check that, please do, you're going to end up with negative 0.5 again and negative 2 again. All right, let's go ahead and graph this. So I've got negative 2, negative 2. I got negative 1 and negative 0.5. That's about right here. I got 0, 0. I got 1 and negative 0.5. And I've got 2 and negative 2. All right. That's our steps of plotting the 5 points. Okay, is this a parabola? Well, it looks like a parabola to me. Let's go ahead and connect it together. You can't do it perfect, but try your best to get those points to be on the parabola, and then put arrows on the end. Looks like a parabola to me. Let's take a look at our a value. Our a value is negative. Our parabola faces down. Everything looks good. Let's go ahead and finish up our values here for this question. What is our vertex? We found that. That was 0, 0. What's our axis of symmetry? Well, it goes right through, well, that's not a very good line. It goes right through the y-axis. I still can't do that. Let's try it like this. There's our axis of symmetry. It's actually where y equals 0. Remember, the x value of the vertex tells you the axis of symmetry. Sorry, it's x equals 0. It's where x equals 0. X equals, and then you write the x value of the vertex. Okay, what's our domain? Our domain for parabola is always all real numbers. What's our range? Our range is the y value of the vertex, which is 0, and we're going to go down. It's everything less than 0. So y is less than or equal to 0. And the last thing is this parabola being stretched or compressed? We've gone through this already. Since the a value is less than 1, or it's between, if you took away the sign, between 0 and 1, that means our parabola is being squished or compressed. So we're going to put it is compressed. All right, let's take a look at, we got time for one more. Let's give it a try. All right, f of x equals 2x squared plus 4x minus 1. Let's identify a, b, and c. A is 2, which is right here. There is a b value now, it's 4. And we have a c value is negative 1. All right, let's use our equation, negative b over 2a. Since b is 4, negative b is negative 4. 2 times a, which is 2. Okay, that's negative 4 over 4, which is negative 1. So the x value of our vertex is negative 1. Let's find our y value. F of negative 1 equals 2 times negative 1 squared plus 4 times negative 1 minus 1. Let's put that in our calculator. So we've got 2 parentheses negative 1 squared plus 4 times negative 1, and then we've got minus 1. Check it out. I put all my variables in parentheses, press equal, and we've got negative 3. So our y value of our vertex is negative 3. I'm going to hustle it up a little bit. All right, we're going to go 2 numbers below and 2 numbers above. When you plug these in, please do that yourself, class, to verify you are doing it right. And then when you do that, check your answers. When I do f of negative 3, I'm going to get 5. Negative 2 is going to get negative 1. 0 is negative 1, and 1 is 5. Let's go ahead and plot these. Negative 1, negative 3. Negative 2, negative 1. Negative 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we've got this point here, 0, negative 1, and 1, 5. That definitely looks like a parabola. Let's do our best to sketch it. You can definitely do a better job than I can. The writing tablet is very difficult to draw a parabola. I'll do my best. Yours should look prettier than mine. Okay, also remember, parabolas never have a point on the end, so you should have a curve down here where it curves around. Okay, let's answer the final questions. What is our vertex? We already figured that out. It's negative 1, negative 3. Our axis of symmetry goes right through the vertex, and that is where, take a look at it, that's where x equals negative 1. Same, it's our x value of our vertex. The domain is always all real. Our range is going to be y, and look at our y value of our vertex is negative 3, and since this parabola faces up, y is always going to be greater than or equal to negative 3. And the last thing, is this stretched or compressed? You can see the a value is positive 2. That's greater than 1. That means our parabola is being pulled up or stretched. So I'm going to write this is a stretch. Okay, in the same section of graphing a standard form, there's one other kind of question you can run into, and it doesn't require you to graph, but it does require some of the skills that you just used to graph. Here's an example of that question. What is the vertex and axis of symmetry for the function g of x is equal to 3x squared minus 12x plus 2? This is clearly a quadratic. This has a degree of 2, so we can find the vertex and the axis of symmetry. You look back at your flipbook or at your examples, you will see the steps to find the vertex of a standard form quadratic. First thing you should be doing is identifying A, B, and C. So let's go ahead and do that now. The A value is equal to, here it is, it's on the squared term, A value is positive 3. The B value here is negative 12, and the C value is equal to 2. The reason we identify that is because we're going to have to use two of those numbers to find the x value of the vertex. Negative b over 2a is going to help us find the x value of the vertex. Well, b is negative 12. This is going to be negative 12, which means it changes to positive. One of the biggest mistakes students will make is they'll just plug in negative 12 here and not realize the formula has a negative sign in it already. That means you have to flip the sign of b. Now we've got 2 times a, which is 3. That's 12 over 6, and that is equal to 2. So our x value of our vertex is 2. How do we find our y value? We just plug in the x value. So you're going to find f of 2, oops, not f of 2. In this case, our function is g. So it's going to be g of 2 is equal to 3. Remember our parentheses. Times 2 squared minus 12 times 2 plus 2. And let's go ahead and plug that into our calculator. 3, and then in parentheses, 2 parentheses squared minus, in this case it's not a negative sign now, we're actually subtracting, so we do use a minus sign. If you ever use that by mistake, you'll probably get an error and you won't know why. It's because it doesn't know what to do if you just put plus or minus here. This is actually subtraction, so you use the minus sign here. Minus 12, 2 in parentheses, and then we've got plus 2. Let's press equal, and we've got negative 10. So, we know what our vertex is, and I can put in my answer here the vertex is at 2, should be at 2, negative 10. Alright, so vertex is good enough. How do we find the axis of symmetry? Well, the axis of symmetry, remember, it's a vertical line that passes through the vertex. That means it has to cross at the point where x equals 2. So we can put in here the axis of symmetry is, remember, it's not just a number, it's an equation. X equals 2. It's at every point where x equals 2. Again, shortcut, when you want to know the axis of symmetry of any parabola, just take a look at the x value of the vertex and set it equal to x. And that equation is the line that passes directly through the vertex. All right, that's it for this video.